with this stuff.
Yeah. So I've got a wee idea for, and I don't know what you guys think, for like a wee activity we could do for the
Yeah,
chat.
cool.
And I don't know what you guys think about this. Feel free to shoot me down. But like, I was thinking we could maybe like ask for reasons someone might not want to join a union, and maybe either address them or maybe ask other chat members to address them as well.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I'm fucking down.
Cool.
Let's go. Chat
this
chaos.
is great.
Right.
This is
Okay.
this is great.
Okay.
But before
Chat loves activities.
Okay, yeah. I want to make sure that at some point we talk about, even if it takes like a sentence, to touch on why managers and business owners, etc., should not be part of any of these organizations.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, especially with regards to like, you know, the Ottawa uprising, where people, it seems like there's a lot of people, and I don't think they're all very good faith. I think some people are just opportunistic assholes, but like there are people that I think are genuinely believe that you can stand alongside a manager or a business owner and that could still be a working class movement. And I want to make sure that we address why that can't be, why that is not a thing.
So in terms of the ownership class, by which I mean your boss's boss, the CEO, their class interests are fundamentally different to yours.
Yeah.
Because if, for me, as a working person, I want to be able to not have to pay rent. I want to be able to not have to work to live.
They're different. They're like, they're at odds with each other. Their class interests are at odds with ours. Like,
like the rich, they don't want that. They want to stay in control and to exert more control over my life.
Yeah.
So we can never agree on that.
Correct.
We have to reach a conclusion, and this is I'm sneaking in some dialectics here, but we have to reach a synthesis. And like, my ideal one is the abolition of the employing class. But in terms of like your direct boss, your manager, they're in a prickly position because sometimes they might be members of the employing class. Other times they might be folks who are fucking finks for the employing class, who like have just like kind of like basically seen. I think I stole this from the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. But they have seen what success means in the capitalist lens as having control over other people, and they're trying to strive for that. But their interests, part of their job role is to stop unionizing, stop people from unionizing.
That's right.
So even if they come from a working class background, they're at odds with you. And if they want to, if you're a boss and you think you're a good boss, if you're in the chat and you're a boss, you can hire or fire people. The only ethical thing for you to do is to give up that ability to hire and fire people and just become a worker. Because, like, ultimately, like a middle manager or whatever, you're at odds with unions, and you shouldn't join them unless you give up your ability to hire or fire people. Unless you give up your that sort of thing, Because I've had situations where managers will reach out and say, hey, I'm sympathetic to the idea of a union in my workplace, but I'm a manager. What do? I'm just like, give up your hiring and firing power.
That's phenomenal. I love that. I actually love that. And then, because that's a great litmus test, right?
Yeah.
That's like, if you're willing to sacrifice your power to help the cause, then yeah, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But if you're just still going to be a fucking mini Hitler, then sorry, don't give a shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone in the chat just said, what if you are in a union and then you get promoted, and then somebody, as Hey Zelda says, you cannot both accept the promotion and remain in the union. Often promotions are a tactic for dividing.
Yes. Bosses will often try and buy out people they think are the union leaders.
Oh.
They'll give them a raise.
I did not know that.
I've seen that happen before,
Have you ever seen Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah, in the film Sorry to Bother You. Yeah, he literally does that to the main character, innit? It's like, we're going to give you a raise.
He's a union leader because he asked for a raise.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. I did not know that. Interesting. Chat, who didn't know that? I didn't know that. I'm pressing 1. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So like, but yeah, bosses will often try and buy you out if they think you're a leader, and that's why we have to make sure that there's no leaders, or that there's no one easily identifiable as a leader. because naturally you do tend to get a little bit of social leaders. Like you get folks who have influence in workplace, but that's just because they know what they're doing. And they're not necessarily leaders because they're not the one who says what's going on in the union. You want them to be people who are dedicated to supporting folks.
Awesome.
Got
Thank you. That was a great
Rinky Dink
answer.
pointing out in the chat saying, probably need an exemption here for worker tenant owners, i.e. folks in co-ops. Collectively we can hire, fire, evict house people. Yeah, but it's like, I feel like
I think
they have a completely different relationship to
yeah.
like the bosses and everything as well. But yeah, like good to point it out. But
I think the thing with Ricky Dink is like that's the ideal, right? That's what we're striving for. We want workplaces to have to democratically decide if they're going to fire people. In the IWW, we sum it up quite succinctly in if a worker has sole hiring and firing power, that is to say, if they can hire or fire someone without having to go through some without having to ask their superior, then they're probably a boss. But even then, like some line managers don't have that power, but you still don't want to organize with them. It's quite a bit case to case,
Very good. Okay, so let's go back to. I think
go on. You've seen something you want to say.
Yeah, go for it.
It's okay.
I want to get back to your activity whenever you're ready. So take your time.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw Kippy's a question about discussing unions with people. We are going to. We're probably likely to talk about that.
We should get into that before we finish up.
Yeah,
because I think that is really that's a really key thing that people can take away from this, and then maybe we can tie that into homework or something. But
I wonder if you can. Yeah.
Rob gave a good comment, but I'm not going to read it.
Oh, okay. All right. Should we have we got mod privileges to just mute that little comment?
Enough of it.
Yeah. We've had enough Rob Rousseau representation on this.
He gets so many shout outs. Can't believe it.
I know. It's really good contributions. It's very
he always nails it. Yeah.
To be
but
fair.
We should let's actually read it out. One interesting dynamic to modern anti-union language is the co-option of progressive social justice language. There's a surreal podcast coming from the Mountain Equipment Co-op or whatever. That leaked recently that was like, hi, I use he, him pronouns and I'm speaking from unceded indigenous lands. Here's why a union is antithetical to the Mountain Equipment
What the fuck?
Totally. We see that a lot down here with like like that kind of like corporate messaging co-opting Maori words and terms and like all this kind of shit like that, and it'll be like, we believe in this ancient Maori proverb about, how the people are central to everything, and that's why we can't let you talk to your co-workers. Just shit like that.
Jesus
What they're trying to recognize there is like a knowledge of social justice without a knowledge of class.
Yeah. And that's like people get sucked in so hard by that. Like there's so many infographics going around that you see on Instagram, and it's like social justice, like aesthetics. But complete, like no class analysis whatsoever, and people get sucked into it.
Shit.
It's almost like the it's that famous quote, right? Lenin, I think, said, "Capitalism will sell us the rope we used to hang it," right? And that's kind of like it's obviously like those horrific appropriations of indigenous people and their values, and also queer and trans values as well, is eventually going to be like the undoing of stuff like this. Because people will start to realize, oh my god, like, okay, they're like sort of, they won't realize that they're using the values in order to get somewhere, but maybe they might start to go, I've never heard of someone speak like that about indigenous people before. Maybe I'm going to learn more about what happened to indigenous people. And then they'll be like, oh shit, later on, they'll be like, they've really appropriated that. Sorry, Matilda, you were going to say something.
Says, I understand why not to have managers in the union, but doesn't that, if you mean like exploiting the managers, they do get exploited. And the way for them not to get exploited is to give up their hiring and firing power and join a union.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If the union movement is powerful enough, then often you'll see managers actually flipping sides and just giving up their power.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to grab a water.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
What do we want to move on to here? Do we want to talk about? We can talk about like you know, like kind of maybe like reasons why people might not join, or we can talk about like kind of how to talk to other workers, that sort of thing.
Well, we're coming into the last 40 minutes of the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm
whatever
Maybe
you
we should
think.
do the how to talk to the union.
Yes.
How to talk to the
Yeah,
workers.
yeah,
I think. I feel like that's like a really useful kind of thing that's gonna be really beneficial to a lot of people. So
I think you
feel
will.
like
Yeah.
that's probably a
So-
good space to move into.
Yeah. So I have a little I've got a little piece of media relating to this. If you guys are down for
Sure.
showing something on stream and it won't get
Oh,
your
yeah.
VOD muted.
Oh, probably not. It depends. If it's like a music video or something, it'll get
No,
it muted.
it's
But
not.
okay, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, you can just it's in the
General?
resources suggestions
Oh,
channel.
perfect.
Oh,
But,
nice.
It is so this is a clip for Sorry to Bother You, which is a good film. I quite like it. I think I've
Please
talked
watch
about it
Sorry to
already.
Bother You. It's so good. Yeah.
I still haven't seen it, but I've heard good things.
Oh, it's brilliant.
There's this clip does some stuff good, but some some stuff that we'll talk about not so good.
Okay. Yeah.
But I like it because it is a really good example of how it fucking feels to talk to someone about joining a union, how to talk to them about setting up like a one-on-one meeting outside of the workplace.
Wicked. Let's see it.
You know, I'm realizing that for all of the flexing that assholes that pose as leftists like to flex about how they de-radicalize Nazis and stuff, it's astounding that that same crew has zero idea how to unionize a workplace, which is if you're talking about any form of like effective de-radicalization, I don't think it comes in the form of, you know, debating Nazis in front of a crowd. I think it's something like maybe starting to educate people on the nature of like, you know, class solidarity and class consciousness and stuff. But, you know, I'm just a silly lady
Once
on
you
the
have
internet.
the tools, unless you want to become a Natsball, you know, like once you have like the tools to understand class, it's very easy to understand. You know, it's like the fucking red pill in the Matrix, eh?
Yeah.
By the way,
that's
real
right.
quick,
I mean, we may have used a couple Matrix metaphors on the stream.
yeah, just a few. I want to go back to the prediction real fast. DJ Mule, what are you drinking? Water or beer? There's only two options.
What are you talking about? What?
Why are you drinking water or beer?
I'm drinking water. I don't drink, by the way.
Well, I'm getting to. I guess I don't know. Nice to meet you. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
No, I don't
We've
drink.
been working together for a while. I didn't know that. All right,
Yeah,
well,
I don't
it's
drink.
water. One person said, I think one person or something said beer. So
One guy in chat, one person in chat, one chatter, and everyone's like, Mule's an alcoholic. Like, can't believe this. What the hell?
Wasted.
are you sure water is the right option? Yes, I am sure. Okay, now everyone got those bunnies. Congrats for everyone who it's barely even a win. You just got them back.
Fuck? I've got chat open and I didn't even see this prediction. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm real creepy like that. Okay, let's watch this clip. I'm excited.
All right, cool.
Nothing in this office is free, man. You gotta put money in there.
Oh, really?
It's okay, you're not missing out. It tastes like shit.
Fucking, I thought I could get lucky, asshole.
I was just giving you shit, man. I'm squeezed. Seen you around for a couple weeks. There's a good question in there.
Cassius. People call me Cash.
It's a really good question in there, man.
What about us getting paid?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's kind of silly that we have to be all excited.
I know,
this fucking
right?
bullshit.
Exactly. I mean, you just cut straight to the chase, man. That's awesome. Playa got to mob up with us for some squilling pennies.
Well, what the fuck does that mean?
There's a bunch of us that are organizing to get us paid more. Get some benefits. Could really use your energy to chump things off.
Yeah, look, I gotta get back to work, man. So.
Hey, man, look, I'm sorry I got you like this, but obviously we can't talk here. So we'll grab a drink later. It's on me.
Okay, first of all, this is super cool. Like, this is like, yo, the code words and It's
so
awesome.
fucking awkward.
Yeah.
I think it looks so
It is.
cool. Like if someone
Well,
came
it's
up to me and was
awkward
like,
because
a bunch of us are, you know, it was really cool.
This was like-
together. I'm like,
So-
It
oh,
almost
yeah?
feels like the guy's trying to sell him drugs or something. Like,
Yeah.
Or he's trying to like,
Yeah.
like something sexual. He's just like kind of approaching him like,
Yeah.
So-
Like this is
so-
like in a little public bathroom, you know.
It is
in LA.
always this awkward.
Really?
So one
Yeah.
thing that Squeeze does wrong in this scene is mention, oh, we're basically starting a union. You probably want to mention that outside of work
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you know, you could get overheard. But like this is just like how it fucking feels, right? Like I swear to God, like you actually have to be very quite explicit when you're talking to folks that it's not like this isn't a date, because otherwise people will think it's a date.
Wow.
But it's
Sure.
always a little bit like awkward, like because it's like, oh, people don't, like unless it's like a work hangout, people don't usually talk to you about meeting up outside of work to talk about work.
Yeah.
And it's something you kind of, I very much recommend doing like a little bit of like a role play almost with like you know, one of your pals,
Yes.
because like you know, doing some role playing with one of your pals, because it is so awkward, but like it's so worth it. Because once someone's outside the workplace, then you'll see it's like night and day. Because when you're at work, you're always under the panopticon, you know. But as soon as you're outside of work, you can talk shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing though is like, first of all, this is really awkward. I guess I'm an awkward person because I didn't pick up on that vibe. I was like, that's cool. So I think I might have I might be cringe. But I'm also thinking of like think of how fascists recruit people that want to look for want to feel like they're in a group, want to feel like they have brotherhood, want to feel like they're Neo, like there's someone special, like someone comes to them and says, I want to recruit you. I feel like this has so many of the pieces.
Follow the white rabbit.
Right. This has so many of the pieces that I think would appeal to that type of crowd. And it truly is like it is truly like revolutionary. It's not this fake like I don't want to be vaccinated or whatever. This is like truly revolutionary shit. So I think this is like really has a lot of the building blocks that I would like. It seems like a no-brainer that it would help to mobilize a group of people that is in sadly being redirected to other fascist means.
100%, because at the end of the day, the reason a lot of folks like that do it is because they're usually young men, you know, and they feel disempowered or they feel alienated.
Yeah,
you know,
they had expectations of the world, and it's like not working out like they thought it would.
Well, this is why these hierarchies exist alongside capitalism, because these hierarchies like white supremacy and patriarchy, they funnel people into that line of like, oh, I should be radicalized against minorities, not like, you know, the workplace in it.
Yeah. When how can you get talking to folks? So first things first, what I would say is my biggest, if there's one thing you get out of this, it's take the IWWs. We have an OT 101, or the Your Job Your Union training, which is basically a training. It can be either a long one over 7 weeks, but it's like once every 2 weeks that you basically meet, and it is intended to be going along with your organizing campaign. Or there is a short one that's over two days, usually over a weekend or something.
And OT stands for Organizer Training, for the record, chat.
Yes.
Right? Okay. OT 101.
So that's my biggest thing. If you want to learn how to do this, then go along to that, because you'll get really good. And if you're in the east of Scotland and you're doing it, it'll probably be me that's running it.
Nice.
Wicked.
Yeah.
There you go. You can talk to Matilda yourself. Imagine that.
Yeah, I'm not
That'd
just
be really
on
cool.
telly. But, yeah, so like, but like, if you're worried about doing this sort of thing, approaching someone in the workplace, you can also like a good way to do it is to organize socials outside the workplace, and then ask someone at the social, hey, do you want to meet up at some point, just to just to like talk about work. And maybe outside the workplace they'll say yes, where they wouldn't in the workplace. But in terms of like what kind of stuff you can do for that, like to get started talking to people, you know, just like you can just talk about like whatever, you know, talk about your life, talk about like sports, talk about like whatever. I know like one thing that I suggest is like if there will often be at workplaces a group chat that's for bitching about work, and often the manager will be in it.
Yeah.
But if you join that group chat, obviously don't try and recruit the union in there, but you now have everyone's phone numbers. I remember when I worked at a certain pub owned by an Australian asshole, everyone would go out to another pub after closing and like hang out and get a drink. And usually talk shit about the day. For an online workplace, you can you could just be like, hey, let's have a game of Counter-Strike, or let's watch a movie together, or organize and like if it's something that needs money, get in touch with the IWW, because often we will actually just help you cover it, because we have an organizing fund and it's for that. But if you have like gig, if you want to run a gig or like expense a meal or whatever, if you're as long as you're organizing a union, give us a shout. But once you're at these things, it's a good way to get to know the other workers, and then once you get to know them, you can talk to them one-on-one. And get them to join. And what I would say is doing that, and then if you can get even one person organizing with you, that will help so much, because it means you don't have to do everything yourself. Because again, we don't want to be hotshot organizers who do everything, and because then you'll burn out and you'll lose steam, and then no one will do it.
Yeah, totally. And I think like in terms of like kind of convincing people, it's really hard when it's just one person being like, hey, we should do this thing. But if you've got another person, or like 2 or 3 people, it's a lot easier just to be like, hey, look, we're getting together, So if you start with people that already, that you already trust or whatever, and then you can kind of work out from there, then I think that's
there's an old IWW trick called framing the tough choice. And this is for if you find someone who you think's like a social leader, by which I should say, like, imagine, Mary, who works in the office, who knows everything, isn't a boss, but everyone asks her for advice and she trains all the new people. If you want to get her on side, and you already have someone, meet up with her, like two organizers, and just like listen to her problems, blah, blah, blah. And then when she says it, if she's still not on side with the union, what you can do is you can just be like, right, so what you're saying is you're happy, you're happy to work here with like them giving you these horrible hours when you're a caterer, and like not care about like how you're doing in your life for the rest of your life. And then you just don't say anything. And that's an old technique, and it's mean as hell, but like if it's down to the wire, then like it can get folks who might not make a choice to make a choice.
Get them thinking about it and being like, am I really okay with that for the rest of my life? Like, am I, and like they'll go home and think about it, and they'll, as they're doing everything, as they're like, like driving home, stuck in traffic, whatever, being like, this is my life. Like, do I want to?
Even if you're just like, kind of talking to folks normally, for a normal or like one-on-one meeting where you're just listening, silence means a lot, because especially if you're talking to someone,
it's awkward, but it works.
If you're talking to someone and you ask them an open question like, how does that make you feel? They might say, oh, it's fine. And then what you can do is you can just not say anything. And then they'll go on. They will always go on.
I want to say
they will always say, but actually it makes me feel quite,
I want to make a point of saying, and Matilda, let me know if you agree with this, that in my experience, most people don't genuinely change their mind in front of you. Like what you say, tell them things, it plants a seed. Sometimes they'll just it. Sometimes they'll maybe even like push back on it. But planting seeds and, like you said, like leaving that silence and letting people start to like figure it out for themselves, in my experience, has been far more like realistic and like effective, sure, but also just realistic to how a human brain works. Like I can't think of any perspective, any value that I established facing someone who was trying to like make it my value, or trying to like debate me into it.
Yeah, and it's difficult because it's like, you don't want to, like, no one wants to change their mind because it's embarrassing to admit you're wrong.
And it doesn't feel good to yourself,
think you're right about that. And what like part of the way organizing like this works is like often you don't actually have to change people's minds because often they already think this stuff. They already think my workplace is shit. I wish it was better.
Mm.
And it's about actually letting them have the space they need to vocalize that, and then think. I mean, I guess we could do something about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's a really important thing to remind people that like if you are in a job that is shit, everybody is going to be thinking that. Like everybody is going to be thinking it's shit. So do not hesitate to try and initiate these conversations under the right scenarios that Matilda's been laying out, because you know, I find this all the time. To me, it just is like common sense. If you hate your job, why are you not a communist? Why are you not in a union? You know, and more often than not, if you just kind of give people the right information. Now, don't go in there with a fucking hammer and sickle and be like, yo, we're gonna fucking do the revolution kind of thing, you know, because that's gonna freak people out. Even though you want to do that, I know you want to do that, chat. I want to do that, right? But yeah, it is just like, don't be afraid. Just start the conversation, do a bit of agitation, do a bit of education. It's that
Like,
simple.
Like the idea of like organizing and specifically like communist or anarchist organizing has stayed around so long in a world that is hostile to it because it makes sense and it's useful.
And it has and it's grounded in an authentic grievance. Like it's like whether if you don't know anything about Marxism, you don't know anything about you have no class consciousness, you still feel like there's something wrong. Like even my boomer mom is like, this is not the America that I thought. Like she's very disenamored, she's very disillusioned. And it's like she's not even she's a landlord. My whole family's landlords. Don't get me started. But like she's like, I don't feel like this is right. Something's wrong. Someone's taking advantage of us. And that oftentimes gets called by Nazis, unfortunately. Like it's the Jews. But like, you know, that's why it's important that we
that's the thing, it's always like refugees or some shit, you know, like they'll come up with something, some kind of scapegoat. It's like, I think that's the duty of like communists and anarchists and stuff is to put out their, you know, like our kind of like, I mean, it's like we have like tools that we use to analyze, you know, like class and all this kind of stuff like that, and it's to educate people on those things, you know. And when it's just in the workplace, like if someone says like, oh hey, did you see this thing about, you know, like these like refugees or something like that, to actually put forward, you know, like a sound kind of like, you know, our alternative to be like, okay, this is what the actual, you know, like this is what's going on behind there or whatever. And I find that just like those kind of casual conversations can be radicalizing for people, you know, like and like just kind of just being that voice of, you know, in the workplace that is like throwing these things out there, you know, like sometimes it'll end up with people coming to you and being like, hey, so, you know, I've been thinking about this or whatever. And like if people know that you're that person.
Obviously, you know, you don't want to make yourself a target as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I think like one thing that's quite interesting to me is that I think a lot of the time when you're talking about, and especially when you're listening to folks and asking them the right questions, you know, folks will just independently come up with the idea of a union.
Like what if we just got together and like it's like, well, you made it just described a union.
Seriously, like I would say, and I'm noticing what Zensid says in the chat. I think there's a fundamental difference between this and social engineering, because social engineering is about manipulating people to get what you want, whereas this is about getting people to think and make an informed decision, and think about what they want and how they want the world to be. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to, you know, it makes sense. Like the idea of, I want my life to be better is the reasonable idea.
Whoa, communist!
Yeah,
oh my God. Yeah. Well, like, why do you think things like McCarthyism like is still around today? This like a violent suppression of Marxism, violent suppression of any sort of like success of any sort of collective movement. Like in my opinion, Bernie Sanders was sabotaged by the establishment, not because of his like, you know, wanting to tax people a little bit more, but because he represents an actual like organized working class movement succeeding. And I think that they had to make sure that that didn't happen to maintain this idea that like, you know, there's not even a possibility. because it is so genuinely a thing. When people come together, it's inevitable that communism succeeds. It's inevitable that like even no like I think that bigotry is always trying to violently push itself in front of us to distract us, because without that, it is very clear what's happening. It's very clear that there's a ruling class oppressing the working class.
Yeah. And I think this is a good thing, like, to talk about like what the end goal is, because the IWW's stated end goal is the abolition of wage labor and all its forms. And like, I think the what you just touched on is important. Like, we don't just want to fight for better wages. We don't just want to fight for everyone to have dental. We specifically want to own the means of production. And the idea of the workplace committee that's formed in a union movement, eventually replacing management and becoming a workers' cooperative, is, I think, something that is an end goal. We want to, and then eventually that through that, like, ending capitalism. And there's lots of ways you can do that sort of thing. Like, I know that some places will try and make the shop unprofitable and have the community buy it out, or others will physically seize the workplace.
Wait, the first one was very interesting. I never even heard of this. So can you explain that? The workers make the store unprofitable? How do they do that?
So this is something which they used to do in Germany. It's now horrendously illegal. But what some syndicalist unions would do is they would actually go on strike to tank the stock of a company, then have the union or a union bank actually buy the stock of the company and buy a controlling share.
Why is that
and then turn it
illegal?
into a
Corporations do stock buybacks all the time, or at least in America they do them all the time. Corporations manipulate the line all the time for their own benefit. This is like
because it goes against the capitalist class.
I mean, I know why. Yeah, exactly. But like,
but like, that's at the end of the day, that method does rely on the mechanisms of capital, and that's why they made it illegal. But like, at the end of the day, I think we are like, through like, one of the things, to get back all the way around to the start, about not seeking legal recognition, is it frees you to, and it kind of almost like means that you constantly have to be on the attack, or your rights will backslide. And that happens anyway. And even if a workplace is legally recognized, because the employers will overwhelm the union with paperwork such that they can't actually do anything. But when once we have what we want in the workplace, what do we want? We want the workplace. We want to own the workplace and use it for a common good.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's fucking go.
That's really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, when you own a workplace and when you own like other workplaces that form part of a supply chain for that industry, you can just stop charging for it. Like,
that's
you can
the
just
dictatorship of the proletariat. Am I right?
Yeah, because you own the means of production.
You run a Wendy's, but you're like, just eat it. Eat food. Wendy's. Let's just give food away, because we literally make the food. We literally ship the food. Everything is done by workers, but for some reason we're still like, can I please? We're still like focusing. It is absurd when you really think about it. Chat, I wanted you all to do a thing. Look around you right now, everyone, and hosts.
Right now,
hosts, Matilda. Look around you right now, okay? And look at all of the things that workers made.
Wow.
Okay. The internet.
I mean, everything here is a huge trash dump.
Now look at all the things.
It's very good with Mule's green screen as well. Like,
what do you mean green screen? This is just where I live. What are you talking about? There's no green screen here.
Now look at all the things that the ruling class has made.
Yeah.
Zero.
Right.
I'm trying to find one.
This is why it's so honestly, it's sometimes when I'm really stoned, I'll get like extremely frustrated, because I'm like, yo, bro, literally we do all the shit. Why are we not just giving food away at Wendy's? Why don't we just like, hey, here's some food, here's some housing? Like, we're doing it all. Like, we're
what is the fucking verse? It's we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's like that. So, you know, just dropping in a little bit of Matrix there. It's like when I think Morpheus, I don't know if it's Morpheus that says it. It's someone who says it, but it's like once you've been unplugged, it's super, super hard to plug yourself back in.
I
Like
think it
you
was
can't
Morpheus.
unsee the stuff that you've seen once you realize what
Yeah.
a fucking charade it all is, you know?
I've spoken about that before, you know, like how it's like sometimes you're just like, man, I wish I could just go back to like not thinking about this stuff because it's, you know, like, but I think like in a way it's like it's actually like quite liberating to kind of, you know, like once you've, you know, like
It's the
taken the red pill
definition
or
of
whatever.
liberating.
Yep.
Yeah.
it
But like,
is,
you know,
it
like
is.
sometimes
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
like, man, like look at these happy people that don't know
Oh, I had that
what's
moment.
going on.
They're
I
not
don't-
happy, is the thing.
That's
Fucking
the
no
thing,
one's
you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's simulated
Everyone's
happiness.
pretending because they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
we just have to, you know, that's just the way things are.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you're so right. You're
I had
so
this
right.
moment at my
yeah,
brother's
like-
wedding. Oh, my brother is, this is so fucking personal, but my brother is me if I stayed on that path. We both went
Oh,
to pharmacy
no.
school to become pharmacists, even though we didn't want to become pharmacists because it was like a very nice, like stable wage, and you just got into the pharmacy school, so it was an opportunity to get 6 years, just pass, and you get a doctorate. And he kept going down that route, and I just threw it out, and I just moved and just did all this weird shit. And now look at me. And like I went to his wedding, and he's like married, and he's smiling, and he's expecting his first kid. He's a landlord, of course. My whole family's landlords, and it seems like he's very happy. And my sister is kind of the same. It seems like she's pretty happy, and it's like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like,
I mean,
What? I
they're
don't
happy
even-
because they're like the fucking employing class.
Right. Exactly.
So that's a secret. We just all become landlords. Okay.
But it's like
but
you're,
here's the thing. I don't even think at the okay. So look at Elon Musk on Twitter. He looks like a miserable baby who is just
No, you're right.
constantly trying to get the like attention and approval of randos on the internet with his little like pickle dick fucking Rick shit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like he's actually a happy person.
That's it. And it's like, it's that state mandated happiness, right? It's like the happiness that you're allowed to have, you know, not the actual freedom and stuff. And you have to sort of look at it like, you know, what kind of person desperately gets to the position of these billionaires to feel like, because they're desperate to feel like some kind of happiness, like they're told that this is what they should do, and that's how you get it. And they get there and they're not fucking happy. And so they lose their fucking minds like
Yeah,
Elon
he is
Musk, and they start
insane.
like, you know,
He's become more of an
It's just-
asshole. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure like how can a happy person be like just an asshole to people? Doesn't seem
Yeah.
right.
He's
What's going
not
on
been
there?
the same since Grimes became a comrade.
since what? Oh yeah, right, yeah. True
I
comrade.
cannot with her.
Grimes.
I just
Fucking
cannot
right.
with her.
I remember.
Anyways.
I just remember he was being like transphobic on Twitter, and Grimes was like tweeting him
Yeah,
and being
she's like-
"Babe, this isn't you. I know this isn't
On your
you." And it's
phone.
like you don't know
Imagine
him.
her like
then.
frantically running
And
across the
everyone
mansion.
was like, we know him. He is this. He's so obviously this. And by the
It's
way,
so
his
it's not in your heart or
transphobia,
whatever.
even his transphobia sucks. He's like pronouns are lame. Like what? Like all of them?
Yeah, that's what
like,
he said. That's what he said. Yeah.
Like so you don't. So what do you? How do you refer to people? You like you just like what is that? Like he doesn't even know how to be transphobic sufficiently. He's just a he's. I hate.
He's just like an edgy teenager.
I have a half a beer and I'm like getting all.
I'm. Well, anyway, if you want to
Sorry, Matilda, I'm
fight
really sorry.
against, you're fine, you're fine, you're absolutely fine, sweetie. No, but like fucking, if like you know, if you want to fight against transphobia, there's a really good thing you can do. You know, it's called starting a union.
Yeah.
She's fucking right. Holy shit.
No, but like for real, like you know,
Yeah.
you organize your fucking workplace. You fucking. I know I've been a bit of a like dead horse on this, but seriously, like you can set up a fucking affirmative action thing in your workplace,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
or like fucking make them, you know, there's plenty you can do. I've had a workplace a workplace that I was helping to rep for, I'm not going to name names or anything, but the boss, the CEO, a cis-het white man of like a nominally LGBT-friendly organization, tried to leverage heterophobia against like the union campaign.
I'm sorry, what
But,
kind
like,
of phobia?
Heterophobia.
Okay.
Because it's protected under the Equality Act 2010. Like if you're discriminating against straight people, that's actually a protected characteristic.
Oh wow!
Fucking right it is.
Wow.
Yeah. And what counts as like discriminating against straight people? I guess
Oh my
but
lord.
See, like the bosses didn't have any problem using the same legislation that's meant to protect people against us. So we can't rely just on the legislation. We can't rely just on the law. We have to actually rely on fucking power, because
you have to rely on each other, mutual aid, building strong networks of support, solidarity, blah blah.
This is why your homework
Blah, blah.
is so important, chat. That's why we ask you to do this. And again, we're very, very, we're quite liberal here. You don't have to, you don't have to do your homework really, but doing it will bring about the end of capitalism. So
it's no biggie. Like if you don't want to end.
What are we thinking of homework for today?
I wanted to ask you, Matilda, because I think that a good thing for people to do, and I guess this kind of depends on people kind of being in a workplace, but not necessarily because there are unemployment unions, but maybe
it can be a place of work, so that could be, if you're a student, that could be your class, or if you're like unemployed, that could be at the job center.
So I was wondering if you maybe wanted someone to suggest that maybe chat start opening a dialogue with someone about some sort of starting point. Maybe something specific for chats is like, hey, say this. Because unless two chatters are like gonna run into each other in real life and say to each other, can you imagine?
Yeah, it could be maybe like try and talk to one of your co-workers outside of work. Maybe see if they want to start organizing with you if you think that they're down for it.
Yeah.
What I would say is definitely get in touch with the IWW if they're in your area. And take the organizing, take the OT 101 because you don't want to run off half cocked. But what I would definitely say is like I think for our homework, let's say like fucking talk to one of your workers outside of work.
Outside of work, chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I appreciate Matilda.
Outside of the job center or outside of like the school or whatever,
I really appreciate how much you're emphasizing like keeping chatters or whoever, I call them all chatters, but keeping chatters safe. That like you're saying, do it outside of work. Because sometimes I feel like people are like, yeah, we're just gonna do it. We're in revolution. It's like we have to care about people. Okay. I care if someone cannot afford their insulin. That matters, right? If they can't afford rent, it's important that people.
I don't want you to get fired for trying to organize.
Right. So let's do it outside of work.
I guess just like be smart about it. Like if you want to like organize outside of work, but you don't know how to do that, like maybe just sort of if you've had like a particularly hard day at work, which is most days, let's face it, just say to one of your colleagues, yo, that was a shit day, innit? And they'll be like, yeah,
say
that
something
fucking
subversive.
Sucks. Yeah, and then like, do you want to go for a pint? Do you want to go for a pint?
Bitch
something like that.
Bitch about our
I would personally recommend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I'm just rambling.
I was just saying, I would personally recommend if you're meeting with people for a one-on-one where you try and get them on side or where you try and talk about like their problems in the workplace. And this is purely a preference for me. I tend to prefer places that didn't serve alcohol because if folks get drunk, they might commit to things that they don't actually want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Friezo in the chat says a good thing that I think is important. Get in touch with the IWW, even if they're not in your area, because we actually also do distance / online OT 101 trainings. I ran an OT 101 recently for a guy in fucking Belgium.
Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
I love that.
Belgium
guy.
Yeah. Belgium guy.
Yeah. Unionizing.
Cool.
That's phenomenal.
So yeah, I mean that's awesome because I was wondering if there was anything like that that would be helpful to people down here in like New Zealand and Australia and stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I feel like
So
it's one of those things where where you want to meet people probably depends a lot on the workplace and like the kind of relationship that you already have with people, right? Like
yeah,
for some
yeah,
people it might be like, oh, it's easy for us just to like,
yeah,
just go down to the cafe down the street
yeah.
after we finish
And make
up or
sure that
something like
somewhere where
that.
you're not gonna bump into anyone from work. Because if your boss comes
Oh
to the
yeah.
cafe, then they might be like, "What are they talking about? What are all these
Yeah,
cards?"
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
saw, Mule and Tim down at the pub, and they were like
yeah.
brandishing hammer and sickles, and yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Crad Babes has a good question.
Hmm.
Back when I was working in a pub, I managed to rally all my fellow workers to the cause of unionizing and fighting back against management, but I hit a brick wall when it came to actually making it official. I didn't know I had to contact my industries if I had to contact my industries union, who I declared this to, um, if we would have our own pub specific union. It was very confusing. So what I would say is, if you decide to join the IWW, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. We will try and organize with you and give you support, because we're
Yeah,
for all workers.
that's
Um,
awesome.
but like if you want to organize in a specific industry, what I would say is like get in touch with whichever union you think kind of seems the most right to you, and then
Yeah,
phone them up for advice, because they might give you advice, and if they're the wrong union, they might tell you. Just like what I would say is, if possible, try to find a solidarity union, a union who organizes
Mm.
based on solidarity rather than um, one which relies on people coming in and taking over from you. Because there's a hospitality union in my city, which I'm not going to name because this is a bit defamatory, but they have this one particular organizer who I fucking hate because he kills campaigns. What he does is
Mm.
they send him in. He pushes everyone really hard and basically becomes the boss of the campaign, and then he leaves, and then the union collapses as soon as he's
Sounds
gone.
like an NGO set up in like,
Yeah,
this is very NGO-y. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
mm,
so what I would say is just you want to try and organize the union in your workplace, um, like and get it solid and make sure that it is run by and for the workers. Um,
yeah,
but like remember that getting legal recognition isn't the end all be all. You know, it
And
isn't like
yeah.
that your work isn't done if you decide to shoot for legal recognition, or if you don't get legal recognition, you know.
How like ironic or whatever the word is that like in order to feel like you are able to like organize against the like oppression, you have to get oppression's approval so that you can.
Yeah. Jules
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
I hope it's okay for me to answer these
No,
questions.
go for it. This is great.
Okay. So, Jules, I like your question. How do you unionize companies where you don't see your coworkers face to face and they're all over the world? I like this. This is a good question because with the pandemic, we've had to answer this a lot. Actually, we've had a lot of tech workers reach out to our branch, our general members branch in Edinburgh, asking for advice on this very thing. Um,
Mm.
so there's a couple ways. So very often, and this is a bit silly, but very often your boss fucks up and will send an email out with everyone in the CC field rather than the BCC
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
And when they do that, you now have the email address of everyone in the company, so
yeah.
you
You
can
gotta
just
save
talk to
them.
them.
Yeah,
Um, Another thing you could do is organize something innocuous, like say, hey, let's have a charity stream, or like a movie watch, or like a charity gaming party. We're all going to play Among
yeah,
Us or whatever. Um, and when you're doing that, that's a good opportunity to talk to people outside of company computers, and then get their contact details, their email address or whatever. Say,
Mhm.
hey, it was really nice talking to you today. Um, can we have a wee chat, and like ask for their email address, whatever, and you might get it. It's kind of almost quite similar to organizing offline, because the
yeah.
online basically just extends the same panopticon.
Mm.
I've over the last couple of years or so, I've basically realized more and more, with between fucking Bitcoin and between this gig economy shit, capitalists have no fucking new ideas. All they do
Yeah.
Yeah,
is they reuse the same old ideas, but
yeah.
hide them behind a screen.
Capitalism again, like
you're
2.0.
you know, the organizing through Slack, it's the same as organizing in a workplace where there's a big panopticon with security cameras, which is the same as the boss hiring the Pinkertons to watch everyone. You know, your Bitcoin is the same as like Ubisoft paying like their workers in Bitcoin or with NFTs or whatever for their bonus. It's the same as company script. You know, Uber is the same as just hiring whoever looks the fittest from the docks and then trying to get them. It's just they never come up with new ideas. They just come up with new ways to get around the fact that unions fought and fucking died to stop them doing this shit. And at the end of the day, the same, like researching the history of the labor movement is actually very useful because the same techniques they used are likely to work for you as well.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that we got the history early on, because it's so important to realize that. We're just coming to the end. We're kind of a little bit over now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no,
This
absolutely
has been such
fine.
a
Like
fun. I love this conversation.
It's
been really
wonderful. And before I forget, I want to say, Matilda, real quick. I don't know if you know this, but my chat is actually unionized against me. They have a chat. They have a union badge, and it's called chat. It's called, what is it called? Chat. Do you know what the badge is, chat? Chat. Do you know what the badge is? Yeah. So my chat's unionized against me, and there's their union badge, and I refuse to.
I think I need a plugin to see this.
Oh yeah, well you can see it. Or you can see it if you. I don't know if you can see the stream, but yeah, they have you need a plugin. You need an extension, but yeah, it's It looks
cute.
like, yeah.
It looks like a WWIU.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Well, they make demands of me, like play this stupid game called Marbles, and I say no. Yeah.
Play Marbles.
Their only demand is play Marbles, and I never say yes. But like, you know what? Doesn't mean that unions don't work. It just means that chat.
Their bosses are evil.
Yeah. In the IWW's group chat. Our thing is the onion emoji because it sounds like union.
Nice. Yes,
it's cute.
Love that.
That is really good.
And onions also have layers. You know, the first step, don't get caught. The second step, yeah. The first the boss should know about your union is everyone walking into his office and making your demands. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's actually that's really good.
The boss, if you do the OT 101, we'll tell you about it. It's a really good roleplay.
There you go.
So I think when we tweeted out about the thing, we tagged you in it, so everyone should jump over onto Twitter and follow Dalma on Twitter there. And I guess like if have you got a link to where people can sign up for do the OT 101 or anything like that? Or
so we our branch has actually, you just missed it. We just
okay.
We just run it. You don't have to follow me. I don't want too much attention because I'm worried about people being weird. But
yeah. Don't be weird.
Weirdos on the internet.
What? Yeah,
so here's the link. Just iww.org.uk. If you're what to do is just email the organizing department and ask for an OT 101. Tell them where you're based. If you're outside the UK, then it'll be just the same URL minus UK. If you're based in Scotland, I might be running it for you. So just email me at edinburgh@iww.org.uk.
Cool.
The only thing like I'm happy to promote is I did just do a nice little zine, if I can talk about that.
Oh yeah, you did. I saw that in Discord. Yeah.
I did a little zine recently. You'll see it on my Twitter, but called "Our Spaces Were Not Made for Us," about organizing, or specifically about like social media, sex work, and art.
Ooh.
Yes.
And it's got some comics and a very long essay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
And where can we find that?
Oh, it's. I'll just put a link in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Shoot that in the chat. There you go.
So I think
get
I think what we're gonna do next is maybe quickly ask chat if they did their homework, because we are over time. Ask chat if they did their homework from last week. It was to basically be a cyber creep on yourself and see how much you can uncover if a person who wants to do you ill were to want to like track you down and find information about you, how much they could find about you. Press 1 in the chat if you did it. Press 0 if you didn't. You failed to do it. You failed is a 0. No pressure.
All right, we got some ones.
Look at all the ones.
Nice.
Oh, Ellie with his first 0.
Ellie.
Ellie.
That's too
What you
bad.
like?
By the way, I'm not trying to cause any homework anxiety on people. It's all fun and games.
Yeah.
Don't worry. There's no penalties. You don't have to feel like a
Homework
bad
anxiety.
person.
You can still do it. You still go do
Homework
it,
anxiety is agitation.
Right.
And then you do education.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm
Is
being
it?
revolutionary when I call you a failure. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
very
God.
good chat. Well, yeah, the homework for the next week is to just like concisely we'll say like start a conversation out of work with a person in your workplace about how, you know, something subversive about how work sucks, about how your wages suck, about how your treatment sucks, something like that. Something that is like you know, kind of what's a label for that? Like I would say like organizing language or like what is a nice, what was that again?
Maybe like open questions, you know, rather than saying what like do you like this? Say what do you think about this? How does this make you feel? And then go between that and then what can we do about this? You know, agitate, educate, agitate, educate.
Agitate, educate. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much, Matilda. This was really great. And I feel like chat has a million more questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if we bother you in the future because you've been wonderful. And like, I see chat like, oh, I have some of these questions. But
I'm happy to help.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah. So can we get some bun claps in the chat or bun clap F if you're not a sub in the chat to thank Matilda for being so kind to come to our show and share so much awesome information and just be a general delight. Can I say you've been wonderful?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're great.
And
yeah.
I know you said you were like a little bit nervous, but you did phenomenal.
That actually does mean a lot to me. I'm like not to be TMI, but I was fucking shiting myself.
Listen, you know, if to connect with you on that, I shite myself every episode. Like I'm always shiting myself.
Okay, I told my chat this that before every time I go live, I have to shit. Like it's an emergency. Like even if I just live, I'm like I have to go.
Every time I see you starting a stream, I'm just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, just shit."
Yeah. Well,
nervous
it's not a secret. Everyone in my community is like extremely aware of my regularity or lack thereof.
Just have a little,
extremely aware
just have a little nervous poo. It's
sorry
important.
to be ruined.
Get it out.
And what was a nice evening with this?
Oh, you're fine. It's working class banter. It's working
exactly.
class banter.
That's right.
See, I'm going more Scottish now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Matilda,
you're great. And so, I think we shouted you out sufficiently, right, to make sure that we have.
You're shooting me out plenty. I'm a bit nervous with all the attention. It makes me embarrassed.
Oh, you're so cute. Well, let's do a quick shout out for Mule, and then one for Tim, and then we'll say goodbye. And we'll do our full screen of me thanking people for donations and subs, and that's when chat will cough up more money for me because you know.
Great. Yeah, it's me. I'm DJ Mule. I am a Twitch streamer. You can find me on twitch.com. Sorry, it's not twitch.com. Twitch.tv/DJ Mule, exactly as it's spelled underneath, but it's lowercase. Or you could get me on Twitter. I'm at DJ Mule _, or you could get me on YouTube, which is DJMU3L. Yeah, I do Dark Souls speedruns now. That's all I do. I'm not a political streamer anymore. I just do speedruns. My personal best is 1 hour 57. I'm very good. Please follow me. Please support me. That's so really good. I'm literally so hyper focused on it at the moment. It's ridiculous. All I can think about is
do you have
like
ADHD? What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wait, did I mention that? Did I mention that?
A streamer that has ADHD?
Wait, have I got ADHD?
Oh my god.
What are we talking about?
Oh my
anyway.
God.
Yeah, so yeah. So yeah. Tim.
I'm Tim, or on YouTube and Twitch, I'm Conquest of Dread. I do like video essay kind of like political stuff on YouTube, and then on Twitch I just kind of like stream games. We obviously talk a little bit of politics, but it's more just like you know, having fun. At the moment, I'm playing the Bloodborne PlayStation demake, which is really good. A little it's like an indie game made by a solo div. She just like remade a good chunk of Bloodborne but in PlayStation 1 style graphics and sound and everything. It's extremely good. It's free, and they just added like split screen co-op and everything, so it's like just like an awesome thing. And it's awesome, it's just like a solo trans woman div that just made it in her spare time, and it's like blowing up, and it's it's
I played a little bit of that. It was too hard for me. But if you're into hard games, then like that's your thing. Eh?
So it's like elite gamer game. Got it.
Oh, it's not that bad, but they really lean into like emulating the old PlayStation feel. So like the camera controls and like you know, like you don't play with the joysticks, you play with the D-pad. Yeah, and you got to use the little shoulder buttons to do the controls, which is really authentic. But it makes it pretty.
I like the way the camera works in it. It's very it's very
authentic. But so that's what we're doing at the moment, but we'll probably finish that up and maybe get into Elden Ring when that comes out at the end of the week.
Are you streaming tonight, Tim?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. And then Mule, when are you streaming
next? It's like a long time from now.
I'll be streaming tomorrow next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Tim, I'm just gonna drop this here, but like I don't know, maybe you might want to co-op some Elden Ring with me. That would be cool.
Yes, we should. Yeah, absolutely.
Or anyone in the you know.
Yeah,
I would be up for that.
But yeah. That's us. So, and I think so Nicole's gonna take over and lead us out with all the read out all the whatever has been going on,
subs and bits and all that.
But yeah, thanks everyone for coming to hang out. Thanks
thanks for having me.
You're wonderful.
You're very welcome. Yes, absolutely loved it.
Okay, bye y'all. See ya.
Bye.
All right, cool. See ya. We'll see y'all later on.
Okay. Another day, another day.
You cannot see.